people are now recognizing that, you know what, that permanent job I had, quote unquote permanent, ain't permanent as soon as the bottom line decides it ain't. I'm going to hedge my bets, and I'm never going to be in a position where I'm going to be screwed like that.
Hey guys, welcome back to Talent Surgery for our third installment. As most of you know, this is our videocast and podcast where we help you navigate through your career. I'm Steve Jacobs. This is my co-host, Mr. Yasar Ahmed. And today we have a very, very special guest. He is known to most as the Iron Man of talent acquisition, the Count of candidate experience, the Pope of pipeline, and you like that one, don't you?
I do. That's good.
And the HarperCollins of recruiting content. He doesn't really need an introduction, but we're going to give him anyway. Hopefully I haven't missed anything out. Mr. Hung Lee.
What can I say, man? That's an amazing intro.
Did I miss anything out?
Well, you kind of mashed together a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
which I don't quite accept. But firstly, I'm very pleased to be here. I'm very happy to have a chat with you guys. So thank you very much for inviting me.
No, it's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. So we'll jump straight into it because we have a lot of questions for you. I think there's a lot of people really anticipating this episode, and I actually got a lot of questions myself saying, "Hey, yes, can you ask this to Hung?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure. You know, I've got to find out."
Throw it at me, man. Let's do it.
I love the fact that people have already contacted you and said, "Oh, so you've got Hung on your show? Okay, these are the questions I want to ask."
Well, one person asked me if you're dating anyone. So
Hey, listen, depends on who asked the question there. Before I can give you an answer.
I'll let you know afterwards.
Yeah, suddenly a dating show.
But look, we always start the show with like a very kind of useful question that we like to learn a bit about you and what you do and how you've come about to be Hung Lee. So I guess my first question is like, what do you do?
Wow, you know what, Yas? That is a question I ask myself more than you realize.
Hey everyone. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like and share this video.
Because it's not that obvious sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, essentially what I do is connect the recruiting community together a little bit. I see my role really
More
as
than a little bit, I would say. More than a little bit.
but you know, it'll exist without me, obviously. But I'm there to kind of nurture it, and I'm there to try and like create opportunities for different parts of it to connect. And you know, I see it pretty much as an ecosystem that needs to be healthy.
Yeah.
So my role is to look, how can I, you know, provide the fertilizer, or how can I provide the weeding, or how can I, you know, provide the sort of little bits around the edges to make the entire thing healthy. And that's essentially what is the job, really, a gardener.
I love that analogy. So how long have you been gardening, TA, for?
On this,
The industry.
yeah, I mean, obviously at a very small level, of course, you know, but I've been doing it, the newsletter now for about 6 years, I think. But the first couple of years, it was just an off the side type of stuff. It wasn't serious. I didn't sort of think of it as anything that anybody cared about. But probably, you know, 2 years in, so I would say 4 or 5 years now, I realised that actually people kind of get value of this.
Then? Yeah, what do you think kind of instigated that turning point?
I think it was a screw up. It was a mistake I made. So you know, I send the newsletter every Sunday, right? Every Sunday, 7:30, no fail.
I love it. That's the first thing I see.
Yeah, it's like
The consistency is
whatever happens, no
very
fail.
good.
But the OGs will remember it has failed.
Okay.
And it failed very unusually for me. I was a little bit hungover. I was in Lisbon, I believe, and I was like messing around with my phone trying to edit something,
Yeah.
and I sent it on a Saturday afternoon to however many people were, 10,000 people at a time, however many, and it's just, oh my god, that's
Or just 10,000 people, like.
But it was the worst thing ever, because you know I promised myself, I promised everyone else. That's the commitment. It happens on 7:30 on Sunday, never any other time. And I thought, oh my god, how am I going to recover from this? Shut my eyes, get some sun. I was a little bit hungover, as I mentioned. Whatever, sleep it off a bit. But then I woke up And I just checked my phone. And it's like people were like emailing me, they were texting me saying, "Oh, are you all right?" Like, what's going on? And I saw on Twitter, I think it was Billy McDermott, if you know him, really good dude. He said something. He said something. He tweeted as a joke, but it's very funny. And he said, "Did anybody else think it was that we jumped to Sunday because Hung just sent this out as he was pissed in Lisbon somewhere?" And I looked at that and I thought, actually, people do care about this. Like they've reached out to check whether I'm okay, because clearly I wasn't actually okay, because I wouldn't have made that mistake. But it kind of mattered in their lives in some small way, and that's when I realized, you know what, I got to keep going.
Impact, though.
Yeah, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
And how many subscribers are now?
It's about 30,000, I think, on that newsletter. But there's other things that I'm doing which basically has similar size. I mean, the second newsletter's got 28,000 now.
Wow. And that's on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
That's right.
Yeah. Amazing. It just shows you how powerful you can quickly grow an audience. So do you have other things? Do you want to tell us a bit more about the other things you're doing as well?
Oh yes, I do a video podcast. So it's a live stream. It's different to you guys. They've actually got a professional studio. So I'm just like literally, hey, switch the camera on and go. But that goes out every Friday, and that's been going now for about, I think, 180 odd episodes now.
Wow.
That's also, the audio then goes as a podcast, and
Nice.
the podcast people listen to. You know, I'm amazed at that sometimes.
Wow.
So some people don't even know I do anything else. They think, "Oh, I love your podcast." And I think, actually, that's a bit of a throwaway. It's not
You're
like a
a bit of a
serious thing.
celebrity. Like, let's be honest, Hung is a bit of a
He
celebrity
is
in our world.
Absolutely.
Hey,
You are.
Yeah.
in the microcosm of recruitment.
No, but I mean, we stand up and we take notice, right? When content comes through, we're reading it, we're really engaged with it, and we're learning
With respect.
with
as
with
well.
respect.
Like, I think that's the key thing. There are a lot of people who create information, and there's some people who even curate. But I think the quality is what I think a lot of people respect. That it's actually, hey, he's put a lot of time and effort into this, and it's a very carefully thought through one, providing, and it's relevant, which is really nice as well. Like, hopefully, you know, a lot more people will start following that trend of relevancy, but definitely really like it.
I have a question then about your podcast while we're talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you come up with the ideas of what you're going to talk about?
It's very organically linked to the other stuff. So you send the newsletter out, you see who seems to be clicking on what are the most popular topics or whatever, and then you start a conversation somewhere.
Yeah.
And let's say you start a conversation on LinkedIn, and there's lots of people talk about it, and it turns into a viral post, you know, that's a good chance that's a good topic. If you try that and no one actually bothers, or, you know, if minimal people actually commentate on anything, maybe people that's not so hot to trot. So it's almost like you're not sitting there by yourself dreaming it up. What you're doing is you're interacting with the audience early, even before they become audience, and you're kind of trying to figure out, are people excited about the topic? And that's typically how it goes in as a result of that.
What have you found then have been the kind of biggest challenges of running that podcast?
No doubt getting guests.
Right.
That is several days of work per week.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We haven't faced that challenge just yet, but I'm pretty sure like 20 episodes down, we'll probably be there. Whereas
You run out of your easy yeses.
Yeah.
Right. You asked me, I said, yeah, sure, guys. No
I'm
worries.
so grateful. When you said yes, I was like, thank God for that.
I was never going to say no, but you'll run out of those folks,
Yeah.
right? And then you'll start saying, right, I need to get this guest who I don't have a relationship with.
Yeah.
Got to pitch that person. They're not available, etc. And then
Especially when you want it relevant to that content that you wanted to speak about.
correct, and because the Brainfood Live is multi-guest as well, so it's not just one guest. It's typically 3 or 4 people on screen, and you got to get all that together. They've got to be relevant to the topic. Got to think about gender diversity on screen as well. So that kind of adds extra. You got to do. So yeah, that's a lot of work, mate.
Yeah. Full-time job.
It's full-time job.
Well, not really. Cause I can't say it is, because you know I do other stuff, but it is the most expensive in terms of time for sure.
Okay. So, sorry, I'm going to hijack some questions.
Yeah, sure.
But stuff that I'm really curious to know is, because I'm sure this is going to come up for us as well, how do you handle those really difficult conversations?
On screen.
Yeah. Screen, or, you know, on the radio, not radio, but, you know, on a recording.
You know what? The way I pitch it, my sort of, I wouldn't say idol, but the person who I really admire in terms of interview style and interview technique there's 2 people actually, both Brits. First guy is Louis Theroux.
Yes.
So if you've seen his Weird Weekends, classic show, and I was always amazed at how he could go to these really marginalized, on the edge groups, and somehow
Prisons, gangs, yeah, it's incredible.
all kinds of people, Nazis and stuff like this. And you think, hang on, how has he been able to interact with these people such that the humanity of these individuals is suddenly exposed to this guy who's obviously not part of their group? And there was a Northern Irish guy that actually broke down Louis Theroux's interview style in a short form YouTube video. People should watch it. All recruiters should watch it. It's absolutely brilliant.
And you know what it's called?
I forget what it was, Louis Theroux's interview style or something like this, if it's still there.
Google that.
And it's a short video, but the geezer breaks it down. He says, look, there's a couple of principles that could be applied. Number one, he is genuinely interested in why someone thinks the way they do. So he's not interested in debating the truth of that commitment, right? He's just interested to know why you believe that. He's not arguing the toss, yes or no. That's his default position, right? The second thing he does is what he doesn't do. So Theroux never rebuts the claim. Right. So I ask you, hey, Steve, or hey, Yas, what do you think about topic X? You say this, and I'll ask, why did you think that? Like, when were you committed to this idea? But at no point am I going to say, yeah, but. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let them carry on.
He's not interested in putting his own idea in. And that's my guiding philosophy for brain food. And that annoys some people sometimes when it seems that I'm not necessarily putting my own opinion in, because I don't see that as being the job.
Is that the feedback that you get from people? Is that when you say that?
There's some people that have said to me, Hung, I'd rather you
have an opinion.
Yeah, come in and say this. And the reason why I come on to podcasts like this is so that I can do that.
Yeah, of course.
But on Brain Food Live, I am the moderator, and my job is to get the guests to talk.
Of course.
And so I don't.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean,
it's not my job to dominate.
No. Get it.
The other guy who I think is really good at multi-person, or British dude, Melvin Brack.
I don't know him. Do you know him?
Too old for you guys. He's still doing it. He's still doing what's the damn radio show? Radio 4, I think it is.
Radio 4?
Yeah, but basically he does conversations, audio only, in a group. And he's like smart enough to be able to challenge someone who's a super like world-class expert, but he never wants to insist. He'll just ask a perceptive question.
Is he like a sort of Stephen Fry type character? He's just very highly intelligent, able to talk about things?
Mentally agile on different topics, right? So he's not going to be drawn. He'll be able to talk about a topic where he doesn't have deep knowledge, but he can ask, hang on, you've just said this, is that actually the case? And he's not afraid to, he does actually rebut people, but not to assert his own position, but just to ask the question. So he's very good at pretending to be representing the audience. And those are two characters who I kind of really admire.
I love it. So you must be sitting there sometimes thinking, "Oh, what an idiot!"
Never think that, mate. I never think that. And the truth is,
don't try and compare.
Yeah,
like that's the worst.
The truth is, I never do think it, because I think I'm doing a guest selection, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I've already pre-selected them in.
Okay.
Whereas if I was someone else, say I had a team and they were recruiting people in for me to interview, I probably that would emerge in my mind. But I've never felt that level. I've never felt contemptuous.
Respectfully for all your guests as well. But
Yeah.
you've had hundreds of guests, so I'm sure there's some opinions there.
We've talked about obviously what you're doing at the moment, but how did you get there? Tell us about your journey in your career.
Oh, so how far back can you go? I'll do it in like 60 seconds because otherwise, we'll be forever. But essentially, I was a student with no idea what I was doing. I actually tried to sabotage my professional career as a student because that's why I chose things like anthropology and philosophy at university. Right, it's like, I'm never going to get a job. That was the plan. The plan was to create circumstances where I couldn't get hired and then force myself not to have an office job. That was the plan. Anyway, I was unfortunately successful with that. So I emerged from university like crap, I'm unemployed. And it was I literally bounced around, no clue what I was doing. And it so happened I actually had a big moment in my life. It caused me to have time to reflect. So I had a big car crash. I was banged up for a long time. And it just basically took me, I had a long time. This is why lockdown didn't affect me, because I already had a period where I was literally not able to leave the front room for about a year and a half.
That's
Wow.
So that gave me plenty of time to think, right? Plenty time. Why am I hostile to work? What am I really trying to do here? What about other people I need to care about? Do you know what I mean? My mum was driving the car. She was all right. Everyone's all right. But I was thinking, you know what? She shouldn't be working with in her she's got medical illness, and there's a reason why she crashed the car. She's medically ill. She should not be working. I need to do that. Doesn't matter about my fucking dreams.
Step up.
I've got to get a job. So anyway, it was like very clear. Right, I'm going to get a job as soon as I was able to move properly. And it was like, what can I do? At that time, it was Web 1. It was the internet was growing for the first time. Aging myself massively here, but you know, it was all happening. And I thought, I'm going to try and get into the internet in some way. How do I do that? Can't program, but hang on, what's this? It's like a tech recruiter type of job. I went into the interview, got the job, and started my recruitment career from there.
I was watching an episode online, Joe Rogan, and there was a guest. He talked about the region better paradox. It's really interesting because you talked about your accident, right? And it's like such an extreme thing that led to you to think about what you're doing in your life, and then also contribute how you're going to contribute to the rest of your family. And this region better paradox, if I hope I'm not butchering it, but essentially what it means is, let's say on average you need to walk 3 miles to a certain place, and it takes you an hour. You would naturally choose to walk because it takes you're like, it's 3 miles, I'll just walk it. Whereas if you need to travel 5 miles, you may take a bike, and you might actually get there in half an hour. So you get there faster. So the more effort it is, or more painful or more striking it is, actually forces you to take a better action towards it.
Makes it, yeah.
So like similar with this scenario, it just came to mind because I was watching the clip yesterday, and I was like, it's fresh in my mind, where I thought, well, actually sometimes something so extreme can lead you to make an extreme decision where you actually can look at your life in a really holistic way.
Yeah,
I love that.
Evaluating your life. Yeah.
And the trick is obviously not to get involved in serious accidents in order to make those decisions. So I guess an ongoing thing would be a really good skill to learn, to be able to put your mindset, shift your mind into a circumstance where you could tap that clarity, and then move to action, you know, very, very quickly. And I was like super aggressive, man. Like after from getting that job as a recruiter, I was like on a mission.
Yeah,
I was on a mission. I was a totally different animal. I was like, I'm gonna get promoted fast as anybody here.
Okay.
Boom, 6 months I was up. I want to make 100 grand in next year. That's what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
Boom, did it. And it was like,
You had a goal. You had a target.
Yeah.
You had a plan.
That's
important.
I still think I was a decent guy, but I was internally super motivated, and it was from that type of clarity. Clarity.
But it sounds like you weren't motivated by what people thought of you. It's what you thought of yourself.
Yeah,
and that was your motivation, internal motivation, which is not a lot of people are able to do that necessarily. But I think it's something that more people should do.
Well, it's an amazing story, though. I love the fact that you really thought about how you're going to help your mum and support your parents as well. And that's amazing. I didn't actually know about that either.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Not many people do.
Is that the first exclusive story about Hung Lee's origins?
No, I've actually talked about it. I think 2 of the times are both on the podcast, but I typically don't talk about it. Not to say it's traumatic for me, but it's because it's not at all. But it's it's.
Do you think people misunderstand you? Like, is there anything that you think that people misunderstand about you?
I'm sure there is, but I'm not that aware of it. And I don't have a pressing desire to, like, some people are very frustrated, aren't they? Where you look at them and think, this person just wants to say who they are and whatever. But maybe because I'm doing what I'm doing, the exposure level is quite high already. So it's very hard for people not to know who I am, because it's generally who I am. It's hard to just fake it. When you're on camera every week, or when you're sending messages out to people and stuff. So So yeah, I think I'm pretty well understood. Although a lot of people would ask questions like, why well, the motivation is probably a bit, but they don't know about maybe. Yeah, there's different aspects of your life that I'm sure people aren't aware of because it's very recruitment focused that how they see it. So
because I think there is also an element where it's a bit of a mystery, like because we started the conversation with what do you do, and you went into lots of different things, and for a lot of people they can't understand how does he make a living, how does he make money from building communities, which should be obvious through the various different ways, but that was actually one of the questions.
Not everyone has that monetization brain. What advice could you give actually?
To make money from being like a community type person, Tim Ferriss basically is the example. Like he actually had he was very open with his business model. And there's basically two ways in which you can make money if you have any kind of audience. Or at least there's three. But he was talking to the two ways is number one, you can make it directly from the audience. So that's a subscription model.
Yep.
Right. So Tim Ferriss will have a subscription tier or whatever. You get some special stuff if you subscribe to that person. Or you can make it through sponsors. So in other words, audience is always free. They have all the consumption for free, but you will do an ad, in the middle of something. So this is how Brainfood makes the money purely on the subscription model doesn't operate. It's all sponsors and sponsor supported. And the third way to do it is like do deals on sort of around that.
Yeah.
So affiliate deals or whatever, which I don't do, but you can do. So
it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. If there's a few entrepreneurs listening and watching, I hope they're getting some good ideas out of this.
Moving on to a slightly different topic, because you've created so much information. I use your Brainfood larder as well quite often, trying to find like good articles I could read, and probably one of the best people to ask, like, what is your best or favorite productivity hack?
I don't think I'm super productive, man. For sure.
For someone who says I drop my newsletter bang on time every week,
I'm a prisoner to it. I'm like literally the community would not accept otherwise. But no, I don't think I'm the most productive person. I know some people are literally amazing. Like they'll set a target, they hit it. What I would say on productivity, there's two things. One is really tactical. The other one is productive. Time boxing is very useful. So in other words, having most activities like task related stuff that isn't deep work, you need to just clear that 15-minute. Yeah. And why it takes 25 minutes or half an hour is because you're distracted and you're restarting that thing over and over. Yeah. So time box 15 minutes, a little app that tells you, okay, and you can see it tick down and like boom, it's out. That's a good one to get stuff off your, basically out in the in-tray, get rid of that. And the other one is, what is the work that you're doing? A lot of, most jobs are email jobs, right? I mean, if you look at what most of the people watching this show will be doing, you're looking at sort of a computer screen, you're typing into a keyboard and you're producing text, or you're reading text, and you're shoveling emails around. So get faster at that. Use shortcuts, use sort of text expansion tools and stuff like that to can a few responses that of regular stuff that you make and things of that type. A lot of people don't use that, and it surprised me because that's a very obvious speed sort of thing you can do.
Yeah, no, really nice. I like that. Any tools you use specifically?
No, I went through a big tool using phase, but then I went anti-tool.
Why?
Because I felt that it was just
slowing you down.
Yeah. I felt that it was forcing me to learn too much of this tool. And it was like, I'm actually, putting the energy into the tool, and the tool should be helping me rather than me putting the energy in. Yeah. So I stripped back everything. I thought, look, basically I'm on Google Apps. So the apps I need to use are all on Google, even if they're suboptimal apps. And the trade-off is, look, it's not the best way that you can do. Everyone's done a Google Slides. By no means the best presentation thing, right? It's horrible. I use that because it's like I've learned it and I'm not going to learn anything else. Yeah, I'm not going to learn anything else. It's not worth my time. Yeah. So yeah, it's basically the 5 Google apps. That's it.
Nice. Okay. Well, I think a lot of people would resonate with that. I think the main thing is like, look at what you're doing, do it better, become more efficient.
But I find if it works for you, you know, I'm the same. Google Apps does the job for me, quite frankly, you know, and it gets it done very efficiently. There's no issue.
I like the email example because I use a rule called the sundown rule.
Okay.
Sundown rule was kind of invented by Walmart. They used to get thousands of emails through their customer service advisors, and they couldn't deal with all the emails. So their advisor, or one of the senior leaders, came up with this concept that you have to reply to all emails before the end of the day. So they're like, how do I do this with thousands of emails? So they came up with three simple ways of replying to an email. If it's not for you, say to the person, hey, this is not for me, this is for so-and-so department. Don't write a long explanation. It's not for me, so-and-so will deal with it. If you can deal with it there and then, just deal with it there and then. Say, hi, this is the solution. Don't give no long explanation, just deal with the customers want fast responses longer instead of like a 3-day waiting time. Or if it's going to take longer than a couple of days, thank you, I've received your inquiry. I'll get back to you in a couple of days. By Friday, at least you'll have an answer. So you got this very specific way of answering emails, and that led to them clearing all their emails before the end of the day, sundown. So I started implementing that at work, where I'm like, okay, yes, no, not mine. I'll get back to you by Friday. And that really helped me just streamline.
Really,
I can get through 100 emails super quick then, instead of trying to create some long. Because when I meet people, I'm nice to them. So they know I'm nice and they know I'm polite. So, you know, and your email language and your in-person language can be different.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people try to replicate their in-person language. And I always find
that's why when you read a text message, sometimes you're interpreting it in the wrong way. You know, like if someone's written, the way that either you've written it and someone's read it, and no, I didn't mean it like that. You know, it can be interpreted a lot in the wrong way.
Yeah, my wife always says
tone is everything, right? Like,
I just send emojis.
Yeah, emojis. So emojis will cover your ass, basically.
Emojis. I was such a critic of emojis until someone actually just dropped the truth on me, and I said, "Look, the reason why emojis are good is because it's actually providing the tone."
Wow.
And I thought, just like, fucking,
I agree.
of course. I didn't. I thought it was just kid childish, but no, you're signaling the meaning behind the words. That's not always obvious. And I thought, I've just been a rude texter for the past 10 years. Now I'm like, emoji king. It's like, stick them in there, you know.
Amazing.
I want to talk about predictions for this year, but before I do, I just really, again, kind of final sort of question around the kind of podcast and the community as well. Is there anything that you would have liked to have known before you would have started this?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. My instinct is to say no. And the reason for that is because there's not an immediate thing that emerges in my mind to say, that's a really tough thing. Because I do feel that the stuff I'm doing now is pretty enjoyable. I enjoy doing all of it. So I can't look at it and think,
do your best work when you're enjoying it, don't you?
It's enjoyable. Sometimes it's hard for me to see it as too much work. So it's like, it's all good, you know? The thing that I would say is probably, it's a lesson I feel I've learned, but I could have learned it earlier, which is just push it out.
Yeah.
So I've got to the point where I'm more or less, there's not necessarily a publication phase, I would say. Because the working is pretty much in public. It can be very rough, and it's like out there, and you can iterate back on it or whatever it is. So it's almost like it's not polish and publish. It's just do it, and then people will see it or not. And that is a kind of thing I'm trying to develop more and more. It's the reason why Brainfood Live is a live stream. Because it's like, I mean, you guys are going to do an amazing production, and it's going to look amazing. It's going to be, you know, the deluxe kind of consumption. For me, I'm street food, mate. You know what I mean? It's like rough and ready. It's out there. Is how it is. And, you know, if you want gourmet, it's a different place. But it is what you're going to get.
I think it works well as well, because you are not just engaging with your audience behind a screen. You are going to events. You are talking at events. So you're actually engaging with your audience face to face as well. and you're not just someone who's publishing stuff behind the screens and talking about stuff behind screens.
Dude, the in-person is so important.
Yeah.
Because it helps deepen relationships that you've built online. And anybody who's made friends online knows that. You know, when you've met someone on Twitter, you've had great dialogue, and years have gone by, and then let's meet.
Yeah.
You meet, and it's amazing. It's like it's like you've known this person, and you have known this person.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, I think that's really important. Even though I'm probably a natural recluse, you know, I'm a type of person. I mean, I do think at some point I'm going to end up in a mountain somewhere. You know, I could literally, you know, not do it, but
Paint all day because you like your art, don't you?
There's definitely going to be people that meet you and they feel like they know you more than you know them because they've been listening to you for so long. They've almost kind of like, they've got this natural affection towards you, right? Which is, does that ever come across a bit odd when someone's like super, super friendly?
You never get used to it.
Yeah.
But it's also a blessing. So it's not something you feel hostile about. But I have been surprised at times because the way I now describe it is it's asymmetrical relationship building.
Yeah.
Or I think the critics of this type of relationship now call it like a parasocial relationship or something, which I don't think it's that.
No.
All it is that the relationship being built, but I've had no visibility on their side because either they haven't responded to a message, to an email, the newsletter, whatever. But they've seen it every week over time. They see me on screen every week, and they've built that understanding as to who I am. But I don't have that with them. But now that I recognize it in myself, I know that feeling. That's like it's a good feeling. It's all right. You know, this person's got value from the stuff I've done. It's a blessing that's occurred, and I'm very, very humbled by that. But it is an unusual feeling for sure.
Amazing.
Well, thank you for that. I want to really get your opinion now.
Okay.
You said that you don't really give your opinion on your own, but now we want to hear your opinion. Genuinely, like from a prediction perspective, everyone's talking about, you know, ChatGPT and AI and everything else that's been going on in the world. What are you thinking about predictions, but what would you actually like to see more of, less of as well?
So this would be less what's going to happen, what I would want to see happen, right?
Yeah.
That is a question I would struggle to answer in most cases. Simply because I don't think what I want is that important.
Okay.
You know, I think we actually have a problem with too much want in the universe. When you want something for the community, for instance, like you have to be really confident that's the right thing for the community.
Yeah.
And I don't have that confidence. I think that, you know what, why am I insisting that this is the right way? Like, I don't know whether that's the right way. So I should not.
It's a very humble statement. I mean, I get that.
Yeah,
Look,
that's super.
You look at some of the moral philosophy here, right? You look at some of the great thinkers that have been out there on the planet, that have written these texts, these books, and all the rest of it. I think that sometimes they've done more harm than good, because people have taken that idea and they've applied it in such a way that has caused terrible things to occur.
Yeah.
And it's occurred to me, so, you know, maybe that guy should never have written that thing. And did he not have the wisdom simply to shut up? So I find myself a little bit in that position where, you know what, yes, I can look at the world, I can look at the universe, and these are my wants, but I don't necessarily want to shape the universe that way or insist that other people follow that. I think what I've got to try and do is create a situation where people can explore it, you know, because I think if we're all able to explore, all able to think about it, collectively we'll probably get to a better spot.
So it's a real kind of less is more situation, it sounds like.
Well, sometimes it's okay not to share your opinion.
Yeah.
Right? That's essentially what.
It's actually very, very important.
Great swerve there.
No.
I'm joking.
You look on Twitter, I'm on Twitter a lot, and there's so much oversharing of opinion.
Yeah.
Where sometimes, like, you may not know what is right or wrong, or you may not even have a thought, you may not have crossed your mind, and then suddenly, why would you want to then add to the kerfuffle?
Yeah.
Because actually you've not considered this, or you've not got a stake in this. So yeah.
To spin off question on Steve's question then, what's your biggest fear of what could happen?
World War III.
Really? Think that's a possibility?
Yep, I think it's heading towards that.
That's a scary thought, isn't it?
That is a very scary thought, but I'm I was thinking the same thing. The signs are there.
Yep.
For sure. It is a concern.
So realistically, if there was a World War III, us and the community and the talent industry would obviously be affected.
I think everyone would
That'd be massively, right?
Yeah.
Everybody would be affected. Is that taking that aside, because that's quite a big topic in itself?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, what I was scared about, bro. Yeah,
We're not a political show yet.
No, I don't mind sharing it, but it's just like it's a big topic, right?
Yeah,
and
it is.
It's a very personal topic for a lot of people, and also there's people watching.
Well, it will impact employment.
Yeah,
big time as well.
And I don't want to do any fear mongering, but on the industry side of things, whether it's talent or software engineering, tech, non-tech, manufacturing, whatever it may be, do you see there being a potential fear for 2023? Do you see any? Actually, not even 2023. What's your fear in the world you work in?
For the recruiting world, so to speak. We talk about GPT.
Yeah.
I think that recruiters have both an opportunity and a risk when it comes down to technologies like this, generative AI. And I really want to encourage recruiters to understand that this is a significant moment in communication technology. And we need to really grasp it and become very, very skilled, very good at using these tools. Because what is going to happen is the recruiters are going to have to do more with less. The cheap money era is over. Globalization looks like it's over. So that means everything is going to be more expensive. Recruiters are going to be told to do more with less, right? Less toys to buy, less people to do the recruiting job, etc., etc. But the productivity is not, the expectation of output is not going to reduce. So we recruiters have to be able to think, right, how can I step up my game? And the vision I've got is that the elite recruiters over the next 2-3 years or more will be those that are AI-enabled recruiters. So in other words, recruiters that understand how to use these tools and effectively operate like a small team to be able to produce that sort of output that would previously, even 12 months or so ago, might have taken 5 people to do. Now, that is, if there's any kind of want, then that I'm signaling, I think, reasonably strongly, but still with some subtlety, I hope, to say, hey, you should pay attention. This is important.
Yeah.
But I'm also at the same time, prepared to open the space for people that are very critical of AI and are very a little bit defensive of the incoming. But I see it very much like as I say, sometimes when you're a little bit older and you've seen technological waves sort of occur, you can see an analogy. And I remember way back when I first came into recruiting, the phone was the dominant tool.
Yeah, same.
Right? The dominant tool. And in fact, the best recruiters were the best phone workers. And if you're good at typing and good at email, that wasn't necessarily the most important thing. It wasn't how people consumed information. And I remember I was coming the end edge of that. I was coming into where the internet was taking over, and it was email and search and so on. I remember seeing one of my old colleagues, and he was like finger jabbing on the keyboard.
I can just imagine it now. Tick, tick, tick.
No, I look at him and I thought, you know what? He's not going to make it.
Oh.
He ain't going to make it. Like, he is very good in his era. But in this era going forward, he's not got the skills to get to, and he resented doing it as well. So he didn't have the desire to learn. And I thought he's probably peaked professionally already because he's not kept in touch with the tech. And I think that's where we're at now with GAI.
You said this last week. He said the biggest skill you look for in employees is curiosity.
Yeah. I love skills, and you're a foodie, right? So you I think you'll appreciate this. So I'm actually a trained chef, and I learned how to be a chef.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I know. I trained at the Landmark Hotel, and I was 16 years old. Went to University of Westminster, did my MVQ, etc. And I like to think of skills in the way that I see ingredients, right? So when you're a chef, you are putting all these different ingredients together to get the best possible dish. And if you can use that analogy and say, how can you accumulate all these different skills to create the best type of profile or individual, whatever, right? You have the power to do that, right? But you need to have a passion and a creativity to be able to do that. It doesn't just happen, I mean, to be honest. It's a bit like if you're a maestro or a conductor at, conducting an orchestra, where everyone needs to be, when everyone's positioned and you get the best music. A lot of these type of positions, actually, I find are very undervalued, but they're so valuable.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think the problem we all share is that we're often not aware as to what our skills are.
No.
Because a lot of our best skills are actually in our subconscious, like we naturally, quote unquote, do it. It's reminded me, actually, it might be quite interesting to go through an audit, like with a professional, and just measure what skills are and all this type of stuff. But
that's a great one, by the way. Doing a self audit on yourself. How often do we do checkups? We do health checkups, but we don't do other things like that.
Skills checkups, like where's your skill set? Where is your mental agility? Is it gone up or down?
We used to have career psychologists or careers advisors at universities, but I don't know if they still got them.
I've forgotten the name now, but it's something 35 skills. They do it at Zalando. You do this survey and it gives you like your top 35 skills, stack ranked. A lot of companies use it. I've lost the person's name, but there are quite a few like personality tests, skill sets, but they're more.
Yeah, no, they are.
They ask you kind of if this or that kind of questions.
Yeah, but you're not trained to know how to use them, and I don't think there's a lot of training that goes into how do you use that type of skill. It's all very well having it, but if you don't know how to use it, it's very difficult. What would you say your predictions would be
for 2023?
Yeah.
I think adaptation is essentially just being able. I think a lot of people are realizing that they need to be able to pivot quicker in their careers and actually not be, okay, this is my life's work and I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Actually, you can find technology might make you redundant in 2 years' time. So you need to be able to just jump ship and move to the next thing. And that could, in the talent industry, that could be moving from sourcing to recruiting, coordination to recruiting, or employer branding, or HRBP, or internal mobility. It could be lots of different things. And I also believe that this year we'll see a lot more. We're already seeing it last year with the branding, right? Most recruiters are now going down the route of, okay, I need to get my brand out there externally as well as internally, because my network is my net worth.
Sure.
And the more I increase my brand, the more people will respect me. The problem with that is what Hung said, too much opinion is not necessarily good either. If you're online sharing too much, sometimes that actually can go against you, especially if it's not in a format that is acceptable for
It's
most
about
people.
finding the right balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is always difficult to do.
What about you?
I predict a lot, but I'd rather go with what I would like to see more of, specifically this year. And the reason why is I was talking to somebody yesterday who is an agency recruiter. And I asked her, so she's new into the role. And she was looking for some advice and, some, not mentorship, but just some kind of advice. And I asked her, just out of curiosity, because obviously, I hadn't been in agency recruitment for over 15 years now. And I said, do you get any financial advice now? No. And I was quite shocked by that because we never got. And when you were back in agency, back in the day, you'd be earning a lot of money, but you'd be spending a lot of money because you knew that every month you'd get the same amount. And you never got that financial support advice, how to invest your money, what to do with your money. And I think this year especially, where we're seeing a lot of increases in bills, and just in general salary, salaries are actually starting to come down, I've noticed as well. Things are just more and more expensive, right? So I would actually like to see more companies offering financial advice to their employees, because it's never really been done.
Isn't it? There's something there. I think it's in the middle, right? It's like, or actually saying to someone,
especially young people, right? Because, sorry to interrupt you, but there's just one other point, because what's really key is right now I know that my children who are 9 and 11 are going to really struggle in 10 or 15 years time to buy a property, right?
I think there's a part, like I said, in the middle where some companies are very against you working for another company at the same time as doing your full-time job. Some of them are like, you can't, conflict of interest, you can't do X, Y, Z. I think what we will see of definitely from your point is that a lot of individuals will say, well, I've got more side hustles. I'm doing X, Y, and Z on the side, and I need to do it to maintain my income and my bills and everything else. And you'll find more people trying to divide their reliance on work, because work can make you redundant. Whereas if you have 3 options, I've got a friend right now who's a doctor. He works for the NHS, 111, and Bupa. And I'm like, why do you do that? He's like, because just if I get sick of one, I just spend more time at the other. Then I spend more time at the... Not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
But I definitely think in the recruitment world, we're already seeing contractors doing multiple contracts.
Sometimes illegally. I mean, there's a couple of phenomena there. Is that even a word? Couple of phenomena? What terrible mangling of the English language. There's some phenomena where so fractional working is what this is a description.
Correct.
Where essentially the individual is doing a component of the job for multiple employers, which 5 years ago was incredible. Like that's surely not on. But yes, we're getting a situation where employers are recognizing actually the CFO, I really only need him once a month to do this. I don't need him sitting there for 40 hours a week, 5 days, for 5 days a week, so on. So the fractionalization of the jobs, I think, is a thing that people are embracing, particularly highly skilled in demand.
Yeah, see a lot of that in the US actually.
Yep, absolutely. But you're also getting people that are running multiple jobs illegally. And there's a subreddit called Overworked, which is basically a load of people giving each other advice on how to do this and how to pull it off. It's for me, it's very much a broken contract with the employer, because I think with COVID redundancies, now cost of living, and also additional redundancies happening, people are now recognizing that, you know what, that permanent job I had, quote unquote permanent, ain't permanent as soon as the bottom line decides it ain't. I'm going to hedge my bets, and I'm never going to be in a position where I'm going to be screwed like that. So, we're in this really strange place where employers, I think, have definitely got a risk that your employee, typically a remote employee, you might actually be, without telling you, running another job, at least on the side.
I think
but
that's
maybe
where I think like the enablement piece comes in.
Yeah. Just sticking with that point, sorry, because my other non-prediction, but what I'd like to see, specifically this year, learnings from the last 2 years, I'd like to see employers more responsible employers. And what I mean by that is I'd like them to think more about, when they are hiring, to do real risk analysis on all of their headcount planning that they do. God forbid another situation should happen like this again. What happens then? Because we're seeing so many layoffs at the moment, and we all know people who are being laid off, right? There are not enough jobs out there right now, specifically in the TA space, that are matching the amount of people that are being made redundant. Where are all these people going to get jobs from, right? I don't want to see that again. So what I would respect companies to do more risk analysis on, if this situation would happen again, what would they do?
Sustainable recruitment.
Sustainable recruitment.
Yeah. I want to jump to if and this or that type questions for you. So I don't think you've got it on your card because you wrote yours, unfortunately. So I'll read yours out. So I've got a couple of questions for you. So the first one is, would you instantly become a successful startup founder or instantly become a CEO of a major company?
I hate both of those things.
Okay, so neither.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather always sit by the printer or always sit by the water cooler at the office?
Got to be water cooler, on it.
Oh, nice. Be the best in the world at a skill or job of your choice, but have no work-life balance, or be mediocre at work and have a great work-life balance?
Wow, mediocrity. I do embrace mediocrity generally because I think you can celebrate that.
Yeah.
You don't have to be brilliant at everything. However, I don't think being average would suit most people. I think most people have more ambition than that, so it's going to have to be the first one. Yeah.
Well, you said it at the beginning. Remember, you said like, "I'm going to go in, I'm going to smash it, I'm going to get promoted." So I kind of was expecting.
You went with the right attitude.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Work an extra hour and get 2 hours break time, or work with no breaks and leave the office an hour early.
Yeah, I'd take work extra hour, get 2 hours.
Okay. And I've lost all the rest because they're not on this list. So that was it. That was good.
I think I'm hoping everyone has really enjoyed that. I know that I certainly have.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot more about you. Didn't know about the car crash, so sorry to hear about that. And I know how fond you are of your mum as well. So, do you have any questions for us, actually? Never done that before, but I'm really curious to know if you've got any questions for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested, obviously, very, very happy to see you guys do this, because I do think loads more people need to have a voice. And I think it's actually really important when it comes down to looking at generative content from artificial intelligence. I think that's going to really be quite overwhelming in terms of the volume of information that's going to be produced. So there's going to be a demand for the human sort of produced content, which is what you're doing. So question I've got for you guys is, where is this in 12 months? Like, do you guys have a plan or a strategy? And it's okay if you don't, because I generally don't.
Can I take a stab?
Okay.
Spoke to my wife yesterday. I said, guess what? Me and Steve come up with this idea on the 20th of November. Today's the 10th. And we're already on episode 3. I was like, we literally spoke once, then spoke a second time, and then we both agreed. And I think our synergies are very aligned in terms of what we see this as an outlet for us to speak to our friends and people we know and get some ideas shared out there. I think going back to your point about opinion, there's a lot of opinion out there already. And I thought me and Steve have our own opinions, and we'd love to share what we think or push what we think is the right type of topics into the industry. And also just like I was saying to you before we started the recording, I feel like me personally, I need a creative outlet, and this is kind of fulfilling that void in my life. Sounds a bit sad, but that it is what it is, and that's what it does. And I like doing this. I like talking. My friends and family would say I'm a bit of a recluse, but for some reason in front of the camera, I feel like I'm at home.
You come alive.
Yeah.
More people should do it. I mean, I really do feel that's the case, because there is just an opportunity for more voices. So we need to have a polyphonic view of the world. The more voices that are out there, the better. And even though I run a newsletter and I run a podcast and whatever, if I hear of someone else starting a newsletter or a podcast, my instinct is no, oh my God, yeah, another one. No, it is yes, go and do it. I'll support that. Yeah, that's brilliant that you're up and doing it. Yeah. So yeah, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about doing something, get on it.
100%. Yeah. I think a lot of this, not a lot actually, but I would say that some of the stuff we make up as we go along, right? Yeah. Because you have to. But we also do have a plan, and we have a 3-month plan. We have a 4-month plan. So we have lined up. Okay, so we have speakers lined up. After that, who knows, right? Yeah. Depends on how successful it is, depends on how many people give us feedback, and we're always open to taking feedback. But I think what this does for me, for others, for you, is offer a platform to give people a voice, to learn from, to share insights. If we can help in any way with your career, amazing. But, for me, selfishly, it gives me confidence. I said to you this before, I'm not one that likes to stand up in front of big stages. Some people are able to do that. I get stage fright. So this helps me build up that confidence to be able to do this one, to stand in front of a stage one day.
You know what? I'll just add a bit on this, because you're a gym rat, right? I don't know whether you are, but he's a gym rat. No disrespect, yes.
But Christmas has not been kind.
But listen, it's about reps, right? You can't just go in and you set all the reps. And one thing about getting on screen is absolutely the case. It's the reps of it.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. You totally forget about it at some point. You like literally,
Yeah, I respect that.
you're not even thinking, yes, of course I just go on screen. And I think I've got there now because of the amount of times I've done it.
Yeah.
But it takes that amount, those iterations. So absolutely would encourage people to do that. It builds your confidence, as you say, and it helps you do other things as well. And hey, we're in a digital world these days, right? This is a skill you need to learn how to do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Be confident.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, we have a very famous question we ask, and I think for you, it's going to have to tailor it a bit because it's less about the most embarrassing recruitment story, but what's the most embarrassing podcast story you've got for us?
It wasn't my mistake. There's a couple that was my mistake actually, but the thing I'm
You don't want to say that.
yeah, no, but
Let me not expose myself.
the thing is in my mind now. I'll have to just tell you because I won't be able to get another idea in, but because it's a multi-panel show, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes I'm doing stuff where I'm not actually talking because other people are talking. I'm on on the chat stream, or I'm looking at a different channel or whatever. And I remember like there was like a silence, like which never happens when you got 4 or 5 people on screen. Everyone's talking and suddenly no one was talking. And I was thinking, what's happening there? And I just looked up and everyone just carried on afterwards. But there was clearly a pause, right? And it was only until I kind of reviewed back and watched it back, like in that moment where the stop was, what actually occurred. And there was one of the guests who was in a hotel room doing his being a guest for us, and his partner emerged from the shower with nothing on.
No.
For real.
How did I miss that?
It was like a jaw-dropping
Wait,
moment.
which episode is this?
I can't tell you. Jaw-dropping moment, right? It was like eyes
Then what did
agog.
you have to do? Did you have to
Yeah,
not
I'm
publish the...
It's a live stream. It goes out.
Oh, it's a live stream,
It
of
goes out.
course.
So this is why I'm not like talking about it too much. But it was like, oh my god, what was that? And then we laugh at it now. Where I was thinking, my god, I hope that was his wife, or you know what I mean? I hope that was like she was meant to be there. Anyway, that was the jaw dropper. And it was like, oh, this is what happens when you do live shows. But it's also why I'm excited to do the live, because something might happen.
Yeah.
And it's all entertainment anyway.
Dog barking.
You know, even if things go wrong, it's like, and sometimes they do, it's like all part of it. You know, like one of my co-hosts, Adam, Adam
Yes.
Gordon. I don't know if you saw the show where he had to take, the phone kept ringing. You can see he's looking at his phone, he's hanging up because obviously he's on the show. But then I just stopped him and said, listen, mate, is someone up? And do you want to answer that? Turns out it's his wife. His wife's broken down with her kids. So he had to get up and like fetch his kids. But the thing is, all the crowd was saying, Adam, get the kids, get the kids. And he had
They're living the moment with him.
They were in the moment. So it just taught me that actually, like, almost nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's all part of the thing, and people feel as if they're involved and they're actually observing it as it happens, and that's part of the entertainment. It's part of why Twitch is massive.
Yeah.
Because it's actually happening. So yeah.
That's hilarious.
Amazing. Hung, thank you.
It's gone so
been-
fast.
It's gone very quickly, yeah.
My pleasure, guys. Well done on what you're doing, and keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. You usually do the last message.
I do, but you can do it this time.
Okay, I can't remember which camera is. Is it this one?
This
Point
one.
it- This one. Okay, everyone, thank you for watching our episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Please do subscribe and like our videos. We'll have some more guests on in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, see you next time. Take care.
Beautiful. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks for watching. You're going to want to watch this episode with Christine Ing, where we talk about how to position yourself for a promotion, quantum computing, microaggressions at work, and more. Click now to watch this video.